And I am finally back after 3 months. It's another edition of Coexist with my special guest, Thyra Rutter. Coexist was created to be a forum where I'm a co founder of a conservation foundation, and I wanted to speak with other great people and organizations around the world. And I'm very excited that if I'm getting back in the saddle, I'm going to do it with somebody I really, really respect. And that would be this lady right here, Thyra Rutter of
Thank
Art
you.
for Elephants. I feel like I'm talking to a sister, a kindred spirit in conservation. It's funny, I
100%.
heard your name for a long time from Beth Hill, who's in our organization, and other people. And finally, to have met you, finally to connect what you're doing in the world and what you're doing for animals in Africa through art of all things.
Mhm.
Let's
Absolutely.
get to your story. Again,
Oh,
thank
that's
you
so
so
nice.
much for being here. I'm all excited.
Me
And
too.
it's funny, I was thinking, 3 months not being on Coexist, I'm like, I might be a little rusty. So bear with me, getting back in the groove here.
All right.
So Terry, you've got an amazing story. You were a foster child, you were adopted into a non-artistic family. Your foundation, Art for Elephants, obviously is art driven, supporting conservation in various ways. Tell me the early years about you, because I always find it fascinating how people came to this game of conservation. A lot of
Yeah.
people, yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people start young. Some people have an experience when they're older. What's your story? And tell us who you are and how you got here.
Oh, well, that's a big ask, but I'll do my best. So,
You can do it.
I can do it. So my parents were, I was a foster kid. It
Mhm,
was the 60s and, no husband, you put your baby up for adoption. It was quite
mhm,
common in that
mhm.
era. And my adopted parents did the best they could. They were engineers. They were, my mom was quite socially active in local politics, things of that sort. And I always felt like a square peg in a round hole. They didn't really like my art. They didn't understand it. They didn't actively fight against it, but it was sort of like, well, art is a silly thing. You can't make money at art. You should go be a nurse or something that just really doesn't speak to me.
Yeah.
And I've always been an animal person. I mean, my earliest pictures of me are with kittens. I love all animals wildly, just massively, like so many people in conservation. I just adore them. And my history was that I worked for many, many years, as my parents had told me to, in corporate. I worked for big companies like Nielsen Entertainment, and then I worked in travel and tourism, like Viking River Cruises, big, big companies in sales role. And I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of doing that type of thing, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
You're driven by the numbers, and it's just
Yeah.
really, for me, it was soul crushing.
Yeah.
It was just, I felt like I had imposter syndrome. I was miserable. I felt there's got to be something better and higher and more me that I can do, uh, which I think a lot of people in our modern era feel, because
I think 80% probably feel
80%,
that
yeah,
way. Yeah.
because we are driven to a higher purpose. Almost everybody that I meet, and we do outreach every weekend, is driven. They want to help animals, they want to help children, they want to help the environment, they want to do something. But because of our culture, it's very, you have to make money, you get a crazy big mortgage, especially in California. You have to do all this stuff. And so
You're
people
gonna be
feel,
working for your house for the rest of your life. Enjoy.
yeah, have fun, pay off those
Seriously.
student loans, right? It's a crazy experience, and it doesn't lend itself to working for a higher purpose. It really, I mean, even people making big money are living paycheck to paycheck and wage
Yeah.
slaves. And when
Yeah.
you're trying to feed your family and keep your head afloat, you don't have space in your life for these higher aspirations, which is terrible, because I think so many people have what you and what I do within them. They have a drive to do it. They know there's a cause that speaks to them, and they're paralyzed. And so, long story short, already sort of long, I did meet my biological half siblings when they changed the laws. I was born at an Air Force base in Ohio, and my mother had died, unfortunately. And it come lo and behold, my biological mother was a wildlife artist. And I didn't
Real
find this out till I was 50 years old. And suddenly, pop. The buttons are going off and I'm firing and I'm thinking, I can do this. Like it gave me this ability to think that I have a right to this, because it was always sort of shameful, a hobby. It's, you know, yeah, do your art, but really you need to do this other thing that has to do with math, which is really not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I drew, I just sat down. I had put myself through art school, but never did anything with it. I went to Otis. And, you know, 10 years after that, I sat down and drew an elephant. And it was pretty darn good. And I took it to work and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I want to buy it. I want to do this. And so it sort of took off from there. If you had told me 10 years ago I would be doing what I'm doing, I would have laughed. I would have thought it was totally unreachable, incomprehensible. It wasn't like I said, well, I'm going to sell art and rescue elephants and host tours and I'm going to do all this stuff. It just grew organically, like so many wonderful things do, where you're kind of letting go and letting the universe step in. And,
Yeah.
and
So wait, but stop right there. So I have to ask you this question because I have these moments like all the time. You sit there and say, how did I start a foundation across the globe? I'm supporting people I really don't know, but believe. Do you have these moments like,
yes,
is
all
this
the
another
time.
person or am I invading somebody else's body?
I know. How did it happen? How did we get here? A million tiny steps, right?
Yeah. I'm loving it. I mean, because I do have these moments like, what am I doing? So I'm sure you have them. So continue on.
All the time. So my husband, who is a wonderful person and is an amazing wildlife photographer, we pretty much sold everything. We sold our home, we sold our belongings, we bought an RV, and we took to the road. So we started doing art shows with an eye towards spreading the news about elephants. Mm-hmm. Elephants in particular, but all wildlife, really resonate with people in a way that I'm sure you know in your heart. It transcends division in a way that nothing else does. I mean, we're a very divided culture, but people who love elephants and animals are universal. They can be on any political thing, any race, any creed, any religion, any lifestyle. They love animals. And so we wanted to really go out and tell people, you know, some of the, particularly captives. So we really started working with captives. A lot of people unwittingly participate in, you know, unsavory, unethical tourism without knowing it. They're animal lovers. I mean, I did some really dreadful things. I went to a notorious tiger temple in Asia, which sounded like it was amazing. Hold the tiger cub. But little did I know, 10 years later, I find out that they're drugged and their teeth are taken out. And I don't know. And I was driven by a love of animals. So that was our goal, was to tell people about these animals and, you know, and to raise money through the sale of art for elephant sanctuaries and other animals to support that, because there's not enough sanctuaries, ethical sanctuaries out there.
And then that's true. And people, you're right. People go to these places thinking they're helping. They think, hey, if I'm here, I'll support the organization. And little do they know that there's just so much dirty work going on behind the scenes.
Really,
like you said, drugging the animals or having them paint art. You know, they don't naturally paint art. They're being forced to basically perform, even though they're supposed to be in a sanctuary, not having to do these ridiculous things. But people don't know, you know, and so it's a great way to open the eyes of the public, see what's going on in the world, and really do the right thing and research and support the organizations who really are doing it right, like Save Elephant Foundation. You know, groups are really, really ethical and are thinking it not just this one point of it, but thinking it all the way down of the 100%. Impact. How is it impacting the animal, the environment, and the public? Like how to connect those dots. But I want to back up quickly. So I can't imagine a lot of husbands say, hey, let's sell everything we got and let's just hit the road. Go back to that conversation. Like, who brought it up? Was it you? Did you sweet talk him into it? Like, how did this all happen? I mean, you make it sound like everybody does that.
He was, so as stressed out and miserable as I was in my career, he was a restaurant manager for 20 years in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And he was done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the most stressful career, 30-hour days and constant pressure and margins that are about paper thin. And
Yeah.
he was ready for something new. And he's a very gifted artist himself. He's a
Mhm.
writer and a poet and a photographer. And I know believe me, I know how precious it is that I had this husband that was in a position to go, yeah, I'd like to do this too. It's a rare and wonderful thing. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, he is really the glue that holds the organization together. Without David, because he does do math. Okay. He
Yeah.
does math. He's like a crazy driver. He keeps the trains running on time. I'm like in a million different directions, but he really focuses. So it's like, it really is a good partnership, definitely a partnership.
And
And
you
I
have to have that partnership
you
because
do.
there, like you said, there's two sides of it. And I'm like a big picture person. So I'm gonna have to have this other side of somebody
Right.
who's okay, you gotta do this, gotta do that, because I'm the big idea person. And in Nasefu Wildlife, our foundation, like I've got my right arm and he's like the reality guy. And I'm like, then we're gonna do this. And what about that? You know what I mean? And so you have
Absolutely.
to have that
You have to have
chemistry, that
somebody who brings
balance.
it all real, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So more power to your husband of the year, letting you do
Yes,
this
David
thing.
Rutter is definitely gets my vote every year for husband of the
Yeah.
year. He's
So
incredible.
so when you're out on the road taking Art for Elephants out, how many days a week or how many days a
Well,
year are you out doing this?
well, of course, everything kind of got torpedoed in 2020.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know about that. But we were touring. We were doing about 45 shows a year and moving from place to place. Honestly, I wish the only thing I would have done different about Art for Elephants, I would have started it when I was 30 instead of 50.
Yeah,
But
I
it
agree.
was grueling. We were going up and down in California, and we were in Wyoming, and we were in Arizona, and we were just constantly. And then sometimes we would fly out to animal conventions and things like that. So it was pretty exhausting. And it's seasonal too. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to do it. People just don't buy art when it's not Christmas time. Like right now is right in the middle of our season. So it really sort of died off, February, March, January. It kind of like and this was our only source of income. So it was a little bit after the first couple of years, it got a little sketchy. So that's when that's when we decided to launch a travel piece.
I'm laughing about the whole COVID thing because as you can imagine, running a foundation through COVID, I pretty much would
Yeah,
rather have stabbed myself in the eye than go through what we've done the last 18 months, you know?
absolutely.
And we made the choice that both at Nasefu Wildlife and I'm a minor owner of Zakomo Safari, we made a conscientious choice that we weren't laying people off, that we were going to keep
Right.
them at least half salary so they're not starving to death and forced to go poach because people who live in these areas in these very desperately, poor areas are barely subsisting as it is. You can't say one thing and then say, "Okay, well, good luck. It's COVID. Good
Yeah.
luck," because you're forcing their hand to survive. You can't do that. So we made the choice to keep everybody on at least at half pay.
Well, you're rare and wonderful because you've hit the nail exactly correct. I mean, COVID, the world over, just devastated everybody. And as bad as it has been for us, our little small business, I mean, it was nothing compared to subsistence level people that work in conservation tribal groups, indigenous groups all over from Asia to Africa. It's been devastating. And as you so aptly put, it's the elephants and the conservation that can suffer.
Yes.
We have a camp, so we host safaris. We actually go 4 or 5 times a year. The travel part of our business has expanded beyond the art business and word of mouth and everything. And our camp that we stay at in the Masai Mara is the only one in the whole area that did not lay off the entire staff. They put
See?
everybody on half. But again, that's money. Money has to come from somewhere. And it's been such a devastating impact on the local community. There's no way to overstate it. And in Thailand too, it's just been horrendous. And
Horrendous.
so, and yes, to your point, I mean, the community must benefit from the wildlife. There's no getting around it. And I think some of the mistakes made in maybe the 70s and the 60s with early conservation was this idea that people from outside of the community can come in and save it and fix it and tell everybody how they're supposed to. That's my own wildlife.
Yeah.
Tell their own, the people who live there how to run their business.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Lulu, shush. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to have community buy-off. You have to have community participation. You have to have the community benefiting from whatever you're trying to do, or the wildlife just doesn't stand a chance. And I wish that more people understood that. People always say, oh, I hate poachers. I hope they all die, which is natural. They're killing our beautiful wildlife, but they don't always get that these are, poor people, local people who the lion ate their goat, and some foreign national who they never see, some giant wildlife cartel offers them $100, which is more money than they're going to see all year, to kill the lion that just ate their goat. And they've got starving kids, and they're like, I'll sign up.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot more complicated than a lot of people want to make it out to be.
And that's right. And I'm glad you really touched on that point, because you cannot go into a community and tell people what to do.
No.
You have to come in as a team player. You have to work with them, say, hey, we're on your side. This is how we see it. We think we can help over here. We can help build a school. We can help with conservation education. We can offer economic opportunities. You are giving people skin in the game with your foundation, and they'll have more pride. They'll protect it more, because that was something on this last trip when I came back, that we learned. There are other organizations in the area, but they gave us a chance because we came in and we talked to Senior Chief Nasefu, and we said, this is our plan. We'd love your support, because when we succeed, you're going to succeed as a leader, and the community's going to succeed. And you're absolutely right. In the early days, when foundations would come in, they would come in more as an enforcement entity.
Exactly.
And kind of shaming, and not coming in like, okay, hang on, we're looking at the bigger picture of what's happening here, and we're going to try to address all these issues the best we can. And I love it, because I have Kenya. I have a soft spot in my heart, because I was raised in Ethiopia as a kid, but we were in Kenya all the time.
Oh,
so tell us about your work in Kenya, because you have a really great honorary thing that happened to you.
Yes. So
we want to hear all about it.
Oh, well, it's almost hard to put it into just words. It was a very interesting experience. It was actually very spiritual and intense, more than it sounds like when you say it. But so we, because of COVID, like we talked about, the local community was devastated. So there is a photography group headed in the UK, headed up by a guy named Gren Sowerby, who stays at our camp, Fissy Camp, which is in close to Narok, is really a favorite with photographers. Mm-hmm. It's run by Maasai and this couple from Europe, and in partnership with the village. So they employ all the village. The village is really walks hand in hand with this camp. And the photographers love it, because nobody knows these animals in these areas like the Maasai. They grew up.
Describe the Maasai, because everybody's seen them. They are very identifiable.
Yes, that's
so describe what a Maasai warrior looks like.
Maasai warriors are known for being tall and thin, and these colorful blankets that they wear that are like sort of like a tartan, and they're bright colors, and they're typical nomadic pastoralists. They have cows. They were actually in Out of Africa, the movie with Robert Redford and Meryl Streep back in the day. So they're really recognizable. And, to my mind, they are really the first line of defense for protecting the wildlife, 100%. There's no question that if we want to save the lions, the elephants, we have to support the Maasai, who live there and have lived there for generations. Well, when COVID hit, so most of them are now employed in some aspect in tourism. Most of them are guides, or their village is benefiting, or they're drivers, or they're spotters, or they're really, really immersed in the tourism. So when tourism stopped overnight, basically, they were left without anything. And a photographer named Gren saw this as a huge issue, and in partnership with Fizzy Camp, he started a GoFundMe with a goal to raise, I think, 3,000 pounds, because he's in the UK. And, you know, to support people, because everybody was winning you remember the early days were like, oh, well, you know, 4 weeks, gonna be fine. Everything will go back to normal. And so we started participating, and then it started going on. And then, oh, nobody's opening up. Now there's this variants. Now this is happening, and things kept getting worse and worse. And now we're 8 months along, and now we're a year along. Now we're a year and 12, 2 months along. And in the meantime, tourists are coming, and it was just really desperate. And of course, as you said, when they can't put food on the table, then that's when poachers show up with money, and that's when you see this horrible devastation that can happen with wildlife.
So hold that point right there, Tara, because that's a very valid point that people, I want to understand the dynamics of poaching. So you have these endlessly funded criminal syndicates who come in and prey on poor regions. They prey on poverty, which to me is about as low as, pond scum. So you're preying on people who are starving to death. They're trying to support their families. And they'll even say, $20, go get me an elephant for $20. They'll even do that.
Yeah.
So this is what you're facing, are people with endless pockets, people who have criminals who are armed like paramilitary.
Yes,
AK-47s.
Like cartels, like the same
exactly. Exactly. And wildlife crime is the number 3 crime for criminal syndicates and illegal gangs in the world, behind drugs and human trafficking. Yeah. And beneath it are weapons. It's past weapons. So continue. So this is exactly what's going on.
Yeah. So because of this photography in this group, we started to really get involved, because a lot of our guests who have stayed with the village, they were really excited to participate. So we started auctioning. So we host safaris 4 or 5 times a year, and we also go to other areas, but we started auctioning. We started a big auction to buy, there's a staple there called ugali that's made with corn maize, and to buy a big bag of it will support a family for weeks and weeks. So this thing, like everything, started growing organically, and pretty soon 2,000 local villagers are receiving food from this nutritional program.
And
2,000. Yeah, 2,000. It's staggering. And children, little children and old people and everything. And so we finally were so excited to get back. So we got back 3 weeks ago, our first trip since 2020, since January 2020. And we brought our group. We had 10 eager souls who were really committed to going.
Love it.
And so we went and we did a food drop. Now it sounded, food drop, whatever. But it was incredible. All the people who didn't have masks would take trash bags and use the handles to wear a mask for our benefit. Right. And then they did this whole ceremony. And after we'd handed them this food, and then, all of our guests are crying. It's just very emotional. And then all the villagers came up and gave us gifts. They gave all of our guests like hand beaded things and bracelets. And then at the very end, the tribal leader came up and said, because of this program, we were going to be made honorary Maasai. So we were given the special blanket, and it was really cute. I have 2 dogs, and they made a beaded collar with both our dogs' names.
Oh,
so it was.
I'm getting chills. This means so much to me, because people who haven't been to Africa, we're so used to having everything, and we gripe when our internet's down for 3 minutes. We lose our minds. And we have people who literally have nothing. And when you bring something to them, they're so incredibly overwhelmed, so grateful. It's such a big deal to them. Like when we have certain things in Zambia, like when we made some school desks and dropped them off at the school, it's an event. It's a party. Like, you think it was Christmas. Africa gives you a soul reset. When your feet are on the ground, immediately your spirit and your soul completely changes. You never look at the world the same way after a trip like that.
No, it changes you. It changes you in all the right ways.
Yeah,
it does. I like the way you put it, a soul reset. And going to Kenya and seeing these people, it changes you. It changes you forever, and you'll never be the same. I tell people, you go for the animals because that's the draw. People want to take a safari, they want to see the lions and all that, and the cheetahs and whatnot. I tell people, you'll go for the animals, but you will come back for the people, because the people are indescribably amazing, friendly, warm, gracious, intelligent, funny, everything, amazing things that, we just look at those people over there. We're so insular in this country, right?
Yeah.
America is just America. But you get into these places and you meet these people and you're just blown away by the genuine feelings that they express. And maybe it sounds very shallow to put it that way, but I think a lot of people don't think of it. They really want to see the animals, which is great. I mean, seeing a lion, like this last time we saw a lion chasing a cheetah. Hey, come on. That's like, amazing.
I've never even seen that. What?
Yeah, it was really crazy. So, you have these jaw-dropping moments, but then to get to know the people, to get to spend time with them and get a glimpse into their culture, it is unlike anything most people in this country have experienced. And it's incredible.
The thing I take every time I'm there, I take away is they may have nothing or next to nothing, but they have so much more joy than we do over here, and we've got everything, but
Everything.
we're owned by our
We're
crap over
so-
here, our
I know.
material stuff. We're literally owned by it. I mean, we are just a cesspit of angry people right now, unhappy people, stressed out. Everybody's on Valium or whatever. I mean, everybody's got these issues. When you go over there, nobody's unhappy. They don't have much, but they're grateful for what they have. The
Yeah,
family unit is very tight. The community, when somebody passes or somebody's in trouble, the community rallies.
it's
They may not
community. Yeah.
very community driven, and they may not have much, but they'll bring something to help somebody along or to mourn with them, and it
Yeah.
is very different over here.
It's something we've lost. I mean, most of Western culture is really individual driven. Every man for himself. Get ahead, make your numbers, buy the biggest house, get all your stuff. Like you say, you get owned by it. But over there, they really have a community. And I was talking to someone in Amboseli, a guy that worked at our hotel. And I said, "What have you done?" Because they basically shut their doors and moved all the furniture in the dining room and closed up for 18 months. And he said, "Well, everybody in the village started planting different food so we could all share our food." I mean, here we stole toilet paper, right? And people like hoarded toilet paper in America, and over there they're planting food for their neighbors. What is wrong with us?
I'm sorry. That encapsulates it all. We're hoarding toilet paper, and the other
and
people.
we're planting food for their neighbors. I mean, come on. Who's the primitive? Who's the savage right now? It's us. We are so wrong about these things.
I know. We've lost our way. I mean, and I love America, but we've like lost our way.
We
We've
have
just
lost our
lost
way.
our
We need to
way.
get
We've
back to
lost what
community.
matters and what doesn't matter. And again, I just I'm a big promoter of people at least getting over to Africa once, and
Absolutely.
that's what I'm excited about, because hopefully my Go Coast Safari is going to happen next year.
I hope
So
so.
I'm taking people. A lot of people have never left the US before. This is a
It's a big
big
deal.
adventure for them. But what I'm most excited about is to be in the Land Cruiser as we're doing a game drive and watch their face watching what they're saying. I
Right.
love looking at them looking at Africa and the thrill and the excitement, and the first time they see an elephant or the first time they see a lion. It's like you can't capture, you just can't bottle
Yeah.
that up. It's like the
Yeah.
greatest energy in the world. It's the best, and you probably have the same experience when you see
Absolutely.
through their eyes. They're
You
like, "Oh
do.
my god, it's the
It's
greatest."
such a privilege to be able to facilitate that for people. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I wouldn't want to do any other job in the world, because I've been to Africa, as you have, many, many times, and you see it with fresh eyes. For us, a lot of people, I mean, an African safari is their bucket list. This is something that they want to do so badly. And then when they finally get there and they see it with their own eyes, it stops their heart. It like stops their life. It's an incredible experience, and to be able to provide that for people is really, there's no better
It's
job
an
that I can think
honor.
of on this earth. Yeah,
It's an honor. You
it's
you
beyond.
feel, because this is an experience, we're so used to having a lot of experiences, but this is their first time of this kind of experience. And to be there to see them, even maneuver through airports is like, oh, hey, what? It's just a whole new world for them. So it's really
Absolutely.
fun. I love that. So let me go quickly back to Art for Elephants. Art for Elephants is ARTE for elephants.net. Now you guys have raised over $65,000 for
Yes, we
birds. So
have.
tell us
For
about how you did it, and we know it was with art. Who do you
l-
support? How did this come
little
about?
chunks, little tiny chunks.
That's
So
okay.
it's, one of the biggest things I would like for your guests and all the world to take away is that one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be really rich and powerful and well known to make change. I think that is everybody. You have to be Jane Goodall or Leonardo DiCaprio or some huge celebrity to make a change. But I really want people to know that you don't have to you don't have to be anybody to make a massive amount of change. All you need to do is want to do it. So we support primarily the Global Sanctuary for Elephants, and we also support Chimp Sanctuary Northwest, where we really like to help these sanctuary programs get off the ground. And we do other things as well, but those are our two primary ones. And Chimp Sanctuary Northwest, amazing group. They have a lot of chimps that were rescued from biomedical research, and uh,
That
they
gives me nightmares.
yeah, it's horrendous.
Nightmares.
And they're kept in these little cages. And so they provide the true sanctuary is where intelligent animals or any animals can live true to their nature. They're not performing, they're not being experimented on, they're not giving rides, they're not posing for selfies. And you have to really do your research as what's a true sanctuary. But the sanctuaries we support are Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries certified. They're US registered 501(c)(3)s, and we also do a lot in Thailand. So we work close with Elephant Nature Park. I know you've had
Oh, yeah.
Mary and those guys on their show. So
Love them.
we like to work with Trunks Up, which in Thailand, we talk a lot about Africa. It's sort of a similar situation where a lot of those riding camps, when the pandemic hit, they chained up their elephants and just left them to die because they couldn't afford to feed them. So Trunks Up is doing a big thing in partnership with Jane Goodall's organization to feed elephants, to provide like a food bank. So we've been helping out with them. We also host retreats to Thailand to volunteer at Elephant Nature Park.
I'm
And
going to go on one of those.
you
So
have to, or
get
go to
ready.
India and
Get
do.
ready for my booking, because when we had Derek on the show, I said, you come out to Zambia, we'll take care of you. But I said, I'm coming out to one of your parks. And he's like, let's do it.
It's great. Thailand's such a fun place. It's such a wonderful place to go and to see. It's funny because those elephants are so well known,
Yeah.
like elephants at Sheldrick in Kenya, and they're like celebrities. So people get all gaga when they see them. They're like, oh, it's Navon. I can't, and they flee.
Yeah.
It's like they don't care about celebrities, but the elephants, they're really celebrities,
I was laughing because Derek would not go on the camera. He would just like Kavan, the one who was just saved out of Islamabad.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
would just show the elephant who was like a rock star. I'm like, well, Derek, can you like poke your head and like every now and then
Yeah, that
he'd
sounds
do a
like
little
Derek.
view and then pop right out. And he goes, it's all about Kavan. So you're
It's
right. So
true.
they are rock star elephants out
They're rock
there.
star elephants, and people get like,
Absolutely.
it's like such a thrill. It's like seeing, Meryl Streep. People freak out about it.
Yeah.
They're so excited to see these famous elephants,
So that's amazing. So did you, because funny, I didn't realize that you started Art for Elephants the same year we started Nasefu Wildlife. See, kindred spirits. I kind of feel like we're walking the same
We're
path, girl.
walking on the highway next to each other.
That's right. We're next to each other. So when you started doing the art, did you immediately know you started it as a foundation, or was this just going to be a business?
Well, so we started it. That's a good question. We started it as a business very specifically. Because I don't know anything about nonprofit world, and we didn't want to be in competition. For us, we looked at what was happening. We said there's already these amazing organizations doing this amazing work, and I don't want to be another player in that space, because you and I both know the animal rights sort of saving community can be a little interesting, and
a little cliquey.
Which
is kind of weird to me. I'm like,
aren't
we all on the same team? Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. So we didn't want to be competing for charity dollars with these groups, because I'm not qualified to run a nonprofit. But I am qualified to run a business. So we have sort of the Tom Shoe model. You buy something, we give something. We're very upfront about it. We always post our tax donation receipts the day after the show. We just kept trucking along. I mean, $50, $100. We've raised $65,000 through this. And I also donate anytime an organization has an auction that I believe in. I'll donate an original piece, and we donate safari trips and things like that for events and galas and stuff to support Elephant Nature Park and things like that. I think I've given some stuff to Nasefu, actually.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you were mentioning that, because right here I have a flyer of our event coming up on the 29th at the US Grant called Saving Souls. And IQ Podcasts, who are my hosts here, are putting it on, and Nasefu is benefiting from this. And I'm all excited because, yeah, we're going to have some auction stuff. So, you know, if there's a famous painting you would like to donate, I know a good place that could use
I'm
one.
happy to participate. I've done, what was that one elephant? It was Mr. Cheeky?
Oh, Cheeky. Yeah, that's right. You did Cheeky. Cheeky the elephant is the mascot at Zacomo, and he's a character. He's just totally.
I could tell by the pictures. He's quite the elephant.
He is, and when he's in a feisty mood, he doesn't like men in hats, so he apparently didn't have a good experience with it. But like when he's just in a sassy mood, he'll just go flip pool chairs and just say, "Hey," he'll eat some thorny pods. "Hey, I'm here. I'm just rolling through." But we can't wait to see him, because it's like a when Cheeky brings his friend or his girlfriend through. So we love Cheeky. So yes, that's right. You did Cheeky. And I love that.
For your organization. I was so honored to do it because of the work that you guys do in Zambia is like so critical. It's wonderful what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, and it's funny. This, like I said, this takeaway, going to Africa for 2 months, coming back, maybe because we couldn't fly in COVID. And so I had 2 years away. I mean, I'm obviously in touch with everybody all the time, but being there and feeling the true impact of the foundation this year was so deep that, like you said, you're moved to tears. Like I like literally would have meetings, and I would like get in the Land Cruiser and I'd be just overwhelmed, and like tears would just like flow, because I'm like, oh my God, it's actually working. Like it's actually working what we're doing. Like it blows my mind. Something I wanted to share that you will appreciate. So when you're doing your foundation, you're trying to put all this stuff together, and you've got ideas and this and that. There was something I didn't even think about with the impact of Nasefu on the ground. So when I was interviewing people within the organizations and outside of Nasefu, I said, what has been the impact of Nasefu Wildlife on you or someone you know or anything like that? Well, it turns out that 2014, 2015, the bushmeat trade in the sector was out of control. Out of control. When Nasefu came in, we explained we were trying to do some stuff, building schools and all this stuff. Word got out that we were a different organization and that we were doing things differently, and we were including the community to lift them up and the whole area together. There is no bushmeat trade now. It's gone.
Huge.
It's gone. Like you might have 1 or 2 incidents, but it's been directly attributed to Nasefu Wildlife. Again, I was just crying my eyes out. I never even thought about that, but that's kind of crazy when you see things that you do and you don't even know, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that impact. So yeah, it was a banner year for us to go out and really relook at everything, see what was working, things that needed tweaking. And it's wonderful knowing that there are people like you and your husband out there who are committed to the greater good, and you're doing things to help other great organizations who are just slugging it out in the field. You've created your AFE travel. So if somebody wanted to get involved with your travel, how do they go about it? And when did you go out there?
Yes. So if someone wanted to go with AFE travel, they can just go on our website. Everything's on afetravel.net.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, you can see guest pictures. We have reviews. We also have a private Facebook group for past, present, and future guests.
Mm-hmm.
It's just AFE Travel Community, and some of our Maasai friends are on there, and our friends from Thailand. We're going to be launching, we're going to Rwanda on a gorilla trekking excursion in January 2023. And we're doing India in not till 2023. The situation was so rough there with COVID that we had to put it off. But we're going to volunteer with Wildlife SOS, which helps
Oh, I
circus and
love.
dancing bears. Yeah,
Oh,
so
I've been a
that's
supporter
on
of
there
theirs for
too.
years.
Oh, they rock!
Love it.
They rock. So yeah, so we've got some. We're going to visit Kaman
Oh,
in Cambodia in next December. So if anybody wants to know about our trips, they are very small groups and they're pretty affordable. So they tend to sell out way in advance. So go on the website or call or send an email, and I'm happy to talk to anybody
and
about
that's
anything.
AF as in Frank, etravel.net. So you're in Kenya, you're going to be starting in India, you're in Thailand, you're going to Rwanda. Is there another country that you participate in?
And Cambodia.
Oh,
So
Cambodia.
yeah,
Okay.
Cambodia, to work with the EMP project at the Cambodia Wildlife Sanctuary. And the Rwanda thing's quite exciting because they also had a terrible problem with bushmeat. The poachers were coming in and taking the baby gorillas, and the population was down to a couple hundred.
Yeah.
But since they started a community program, it's not thanks to Art for Elephants, but just in general, when they did this community-based profit sharing with the village, it's basically, it sounds cap mercenary, but the gorillas are now worth more alive than dead. So the
Yeah.
population is getting more and more and more and more, and it's so exciting to go see the gorillas, and it helps to support those initiatives. So that's pretty exciting. People wanted
Again,
that.
if you're a newer foundation that's just starting, again, Thyra Rutter is my special guest, and I've had amazing guests on Coexist. Sorry, I've been on hiatus for 3 months, but again, I was in Africa and I had been sick for a while. But the whole platform, the concept is to introduce people to other people to get great ideas, learn from our mistakes, like some things we didn't work. But we want to give you the blueprint of success. So maybe there's an area of Africa or some part of the world that you love and you see something bad going on, like the animal numbers are being decimated and you feel helpless and you're like, "What how do I do this? How can I start?" Well, you've got 2 people right here
Yes.
who were
Smart.
completely in different walks of life. You know, I was the daughter of a safari operator, so it was kind of in my blood early on. But here I am in, radio, and I started a foundation in Zambia through somebody I met on the radio. I mean, how random is that? And here I am all these years later doing this. It just takes that one step forward. Reach out. And if you want to ask me any questions, please, I will be happy to help you. I will guide you and cheer you on.
Absolutely.
Send me an email at coe at nasefu.org. If you wanna talk to Thyra, you've got her website, artforelephants.net or afetravel.net. Ask if you wanna go check out an experience in Rwanda or Thailand or whatever. Maybe they wanna be a part of something. You might connect them with another great organization. It just takes that first step, but I want people to feel ramped up so they can just have a great impact from the get-go and not make
Absolutely.
those mistakes that a lot of foundations have made. I mean, we
Yeah.
wanna share the information of we're all in this together, and it just takes that first step. That's it.
That's true. People feel very unempowered. They feel, completely paralyzed by this compassion in their heart. They see people say all the time, there's so much bad. There's so much bad. I can't do anything. They feel very unempowered. But the reality is everybody, I don't care who you are, how much money you have, what you do, what's your family situation, is empowered to make an impact of any stripe, sharing things, telling people just around the drink cooler at work, say, hey, maybe you shouldn't ride elephants, hey, things like that, just little tiny steps. A friend of
Or
mine
stop
said,
using so much plastic. You could start right there. It's
getting
one step.
xeriscaping in your lawn, to cut back on little tiny steps and to share what you know and to learn from others. And anybody can be an Art for Elephants. And we want you, whatever your passion is, to do that thing that sets your soul on fire, because nobody goes to their grave wishing they spent more time at work.
No.
And you really need to we're put here for something higher. I think all of us are. And it's unfortunate that our society doesn't honor and support those dreams and aspirations. But once you start on that path, even if it's just a little tiny path, it will change your life.
Yeah, you're right. It's all in us. We all have a
Okay.
passion. we all have a higher power. We all answer, something impacts us. Some people love the ocean more than maybe land animals, and they just might
Or
find their heart
kids,
is in that.
or old
Or kids.
people, or art, or whatever that thing is,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. You just got to take that step. So again, you're just a joy. I just can't even tell you what a
Thank
joy
you.
you are. And I,
I feel like we've been
again,
best friends for 20 years at this
I
point.
I literally feel like we literally have known each other forever. And again, through other people, including my friend Beth Hill, like
Yeah,
that's the one thing. And you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I have met the most amazing people since I got into conservation full time. The most amazing, inspiring people like, "Oh, I wanna be like them." Like, "Oh my god, they're the best." So this is what it is. This is a circuitous route of people meeting each other and connecting the dots on how we could all come together and help. And Tira and her husband created Art for Elephants. They use money that they make to support other great organizations out there. Their passion for Africa runs deep. They've got afetravel.net. They're helping the local community. They're seeing starvation and famine and drought conditions going on. So what do? Well, they start helping feeding them. And in return, they have a group of people who have so much regard and reverie for them that they made you an honorary Maasai member. I mean, that to me, I'm hearing angels sing. That's a great honor. That is a
it
very
is.
proud tribe with so much history and
Yeah.
a purpose and a way they conduct their lives and everything like that. And to be included in something so amazing is I'm really
Yeah.
proud of you. I'm
It's
really
almost
proud
like
of
I'm
you.
not worthy. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Seriously, I
it was
know. I wanna cry for you because it's really emotional. I get
it's
it. I
very
totally get it.
unexpected, and I'm still not to terms with it. I just felt, "No, I wanna do more for you. I wanna do more for you," and to have that show so genuine, my husband said it best when this is happening, we're both tears streaming down our faces. He looked at me and he grabbed me by the shoulders and he goes, "No matter what we do in our lives, we did this thing."
Oh my
You
gosh.
know? And he was
Uh,
about the feeding program, and he goes, "We did this thing." And
yeah.
I mean, that
It
says it all.
changes your life. It
And I
changes
want
your life.
everybody to do their thing, whatever
Yeah.
that thing is, to get to this point in your life where you look back and you go, I may have screwed up 100 ways from Sunday, but
But I did one good thing
I
in my
did this
life.
thing. Yeah,
That's awesome. And your husband is awesome.
he
Tell
is
him I
really
think he's an amazing man.
awesome.
He's an amazing wife
Thank
whose
you.
heart is for something else other than themselves. So, Tara, an absolute pleasure. Thank you for answering your call. A lot of people hear the call, but they don't do anything, but you did. Um, you're helping the people of Masai Mara. You're helping educate the world with your travels and people who want to, get involved and see other countries. You create this beautiful art to support great organizations, even like our little foundation with doing artwork for our cheeky. So you're something else. And sisters for life, girl.
For
Sisters for
life, for
life.
life,
That's
for
what it's
life.
going to
We'll
be.
always be sisters.
Oh, absolutely. So again, her websites are Art for Elephants, ARTE. That's artforelephants.net. And her travel, like she said, she's got small groups that go over. So if you want to get in, book now
Right
at
now.
AFE, like Art for Elephants, AFetravel.net. Tira, I hope I see you soon in this
Oh, you
COVID
will.
world. Oh, and quickly, I know you've got a couple of events coming up. You've got Paso Robles Art in the Park. And then you're gonna
Yes.
be at Montrose as well?
Yes, and another Art for the Park, and then we're going to be at the Sacramento Festival of Fine Arts, and we do the Harvest Festival. So we'll be at the Harvest Festival in San Mateo and the Harvest Festival in Sacramento as well. So it's our busy season, so we're go
You
go
go,
go.
girl. And I'm gonna plug, if you don't mind, the IQ podcast Saving Souls
Yes,
Halloween fundraiser.
I
This
want
is
in.
Yay! This is benefiting the Sefu wildlife. I'm so grateful that IQ Podcast wants to make this an annual event. So it's Friday, October 29th at the beautiful US Grant. We're going to be in the rendezvous room. We've
Ooh,
got great auction prizes, including a safari to Zakomo Safari. We've got just amazing things. We've got prizes. And get this, dear, this might be a good incentive for you and your husband. We have two $500 costume prizes for best costume. So work on that costume. You could win $500. So make it happen. So tickets are on Eventbrite. But if you want any more information, just go to IQ Podcasts page. That's podcast with an S on Facebook. You can get your tickets at Eventbrite. They've got all the information there. And thanks to our friends at Saquon, US Grant, Attorney King, Local Umbrella Media, Functional Fitness. And we really appreciate it. So Thyra, much love, my friend. We'll talk soon. And thank you so much for watching my coming back Coexist
Yay,
podcast.
I feel very honored. Welcome back.
My pleasure. So I'll be back in a few weeks with another great guest. And again, if you have any suggestions, anybody you'd like to learn about, somebody I can reach out to, of another foundation, another person out there on a mission to save the world, I want to hear about it. Just email me at COE at nisefu.org on Coexist. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, Thyra.
Bye-bye.